Have you ever wondered why the price of gas can just shoot up overnight, or why your favorite coffee suddenly costs $1 more? It might feel totally random, but I promise you, it's not. There's actually a secret language that all markets speak, a kind of hidden code that sets the price for almost everything. And today, we're going to crack that code together.
So what's the deal? What really decides the price of everything you buy? It's not some person in a fancy boardroom just making up a number. The real answer is this incredible, dynamic dance between two huge forces, what all of us as buyers want and what all the sellers out there are willing to provide. Let's dive in and solve this price puzzle. And believe it or not, it all starts with you and me.
All right, so let's kick things off by, looking in the mirror. We need to understand our side of the equation first. This is all about what economists call demand. And it's really just the story of our collective choices as shoppers and consumers.
Now, the heart of this whole thing is an idea that you already get deep down. It's called the law of demand, and it's super simple. When the price of something goes up, we usually buy less of it, and when the price drops, we tend to buy more. It's just common sense, right? I mean, if your favorite energy bars are suddenly buy one, get one free, are you tempted to grab a few extra? Of course you are. That's the law of demand, right there.
Okay, but here's a really important detail. When only the price changes, our basic desire for those energy bars hasn't really changed. We're just reacting to that new price tag. You can think of it like this. Our overall demand is a set of rules, and a price change just makes us move to a different point within those same rules. But what happens when the rules themselves change?
Okay, if you remember one thing from this section, make it this. A movement along the curve is just you reacting to a sale. But a shift of the whole curve? That's a total game changer. It means that at every single price, people now want more or less of that thing. So imagine a big study comes out that says those energy bars make you smarter. Suddenly everybody wants them, whether they cost $1 or $5. The whole demand curve literally shifts to a new position. Getting this difference is the absolute key to understanding this whole model.
So what are these big shifters? Well, a bunch of things. Your income for one. If you get a raise, boom, you might start buying more of the fancy stuff, shifting your demand. Or what if the price of a substitute, let's say an energy drink, goes through the roof? Well, a lot of people are going to switch to energy bars, and their demand curve will shift too. These are the kinds of things that change our buying habits on a really fundamental level.
All right, so that's us, the buyers. But that's only half the story, right? It takes two to tango in a market. So now let's flip the coin and see things from the other side. Let's step into the world of the sellers, the world of supply. And you'll see, the logic for sellers is basically the mirror image of ours. The law of supply boils down to one simple word: incentives. If the price of a product is high, producers have a huge incentive to make and sell more of it. Why? Well, profit. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. If you're the one making those energy bars and you can suddenly sell them for $3 a pop instead of $1, you're not just going to make a few more. You're going to fire up those ovens and run them 24/7.
And hey, guess what? That same idea of movement versus shift applies here too. A simple price change just makes sellers move up or down their existing supply curve. But what if something fundamental changes for them? For instance, what if the price of oats, a key ingredient, suddenly doubles? Well, now it's way harder for them to make a profit at any price. Their entire supply curve shifts inward. That's a change in supply, and it's a totally different ballgame.
So, what causes these big supply shifts? Technology is a huge one. Imagine a new, super fast oven that cuts production time in half. That would lower costs and shift the supply curve outward. But it's not all about machines. Mother Nature has a massive say in this too. Just think about farming. A year of perfect weather can lead to a gigantic harvest, shifting the supply of, say, corn way out. But a single freak frost can do the exact opposite overnight.
Okay, so we've got team buyer, and that's demand. And we've got team seller, and that's supply. Now for the main event. Let's bring these two groups together and see what happens when their plans collide.
This, right here, is where the real magic of the market happens. You've got buyers who are always pulling for the lowest possible price, and you've got sellers who are always pulling for the highest. It seems like they're at a total impasse, right? So, how does anything ever get sold?
Well, this table lays it all out perfectly. Let's start at the top. At $2.50 a bar, sellers are ecstatic. They put 15 million bars on the shelves. But for us buyers, no way. We only want 5 million at that price. The result? A giant surplus of 10 million unsold bars. Now, jump to the bottom. At $1, we want to buy 15 million. But sellers can't make money, so they only offer 6 million. The result? A massive shortage. But look, right there in the middle. At $1.50, it's perfect.
And that magic number, that perfect meeting point, has a name: equilibrium. It's the one and only price where the plans of the buyers perfectly match the plans of the sellers. The exact amount we want to buy is the exact amount they want to sell. The market is perfectly balanced.
Because think about what happens when the price is too low. You get a shortage. We've all seen this, right? The empty shelves, or trying to get tickets to a huge concert, and they're gone in a flash. That situation can't last. Buyers get frustrated and start offering more, and sellers see an opportunity to raise prices. The market naturally, almost magnetically, pushes that price back up toward equilibrium.
And on the flip side, if the price is way too high, you get a surplus. Just picture all those unsold energy bars piling up in a warehouse collecting dust. What happens next? You know it, a big red sale sign goes up. Sellers have to cut the price to get rid of their inventory, and this pressure naturally guides the price back down to that sweet spot.
So, demand, supply, equilibrium. We now have the complete toolkit. So let's finally go back to that original mystery. What in the world was going on with the price of coffee? Let's crack this case. So this is a real headline from the Financial Times back in 2010. And look, the article basically gives us the answer right there. It says, on the back of low supplies after a string of poor crops. So what do you think? Is that a demand problem or is that a supply problem?
Let's put on our detective hats and just trace the chain of events. First, the bad weather, that state of nature thing, it destroyed the coffee crops. That is a classic supply shifter. So the entire supply curve for coffee lurched to the left. Now at the old price, there was suddenly a massive shortage. Not enough coffee to go around. And what do we know happens when there's a shortage? The price has nowhere to go but up until it finds a new, and in this case, much higher balance point.
And there it is. The answer is crystal clear. It wasn't us. Our demand for coffee didn't just explode overnight. It was a huge shock to the supply side, a classic leftward shift of the supply curve that sent the price through the roof. Puzzle solved.
So there you have it. You are now fluent in the secret language of the market. It's not some random chaotic thing. It's the invisible engine of demand and supply. So the next time you're at the grocery store and see avocados are suddenly twice the price, or you see a flash sale on flights, you can stop and ask yourself, is that a demand shift or a supply shift? Because now you actually have the tools to figure it out.